up, everybody? I am your host, Chris Trovador, and we are here back again with another episode of Beyond the Pain. And for those who are brand new to this, I am a tattoo artist, and I love hearing clients, friends, people who have stories behind their tattoos. And that's the whole point of this. So this guest is so awesome. This is my friend. He is a teacher, all right? He is an actor. He has a solo show called Fat And. He is an owner of a candle, Olfactory Factory Candles. He also is a speech and debate coach. This guy is phenomenal. Please give a round of applause for my homie, Bobby Lebeda!
Hi!
What's up? Did I butcher anything? Did I butcher your last name?
That was if anything too nice. You should everyone lower your expectations.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Let's bring it down.
Oh, let's bring it down a notch.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. It's the middle of a pandemic, and being a teacher during a pandemic, 0 out of 10 would not recommend. And as a speech and debate coach, I actually had a speech and debate tournament I was hosting yesterday. Which, if you told me a year ago I'd be running speech and debate tournaments online, I go, what the fuck does that mean? But
yeah, I can only imagine because, during the pandemic, I haven't been able to tattoo because I'm at high risk. But what I have been able to do is teach. I've been teaching at Second City as a coach, teaching improv and comedy or whatnot, and teaching kids around the world. Kids, adults, it ranges, but just around the world. And you do it through Zoom?
I do it through Zoom. I teach my full-time job. I teach high schoolers, and then I have a part-time teaching job where I teach elementary and middle schoolers. So I kind of run the gamut. And at the beginning of the pandemic, spring of 2020, which seems like 17 years ago, I was actually teaching a class at Pasadena City College. So I've kind of hit every age group you could teach as well. And it's kind of interesting seeing how each group responded to being online.
That's awesome, man. Does your students, or do your students know that you have a tattoo?
Actually, I don't think most of them do. I work at a private high school, and not that it would be like a bad thing to bring it up, but I don't think many of them do. Though occasionally, if I play a game with them, like Two Truths and a Lie, occasionally I'll throw in that I have 2 tattoos as a truth, and they're like, Mr. Lebeda would never have tattoos because, I'm a dude who wears bow ties, right? So they never expect it. They're like, you have tattoos? I'm like, yeah, I have 2. And they're like, well, yeah, you more than one. Like, it just throws them off, and it's really funny.
I loved it when I was trying to schedule you for this. I was like, all right, do I look cute? Do I wear a bow tie? I was like,
well, what aesthetic should I be rocking right now?
I was like, you know what? I have a custom bow tie that I've done, and let's wear that too. Why not?
The week before the pandemic, I bought like this set of like 20 bow ties, and I've barely worn any of them because on Zoom, I'm just normally wearing a black t-shirt. I'm like, all right, kids, we're learning speech and debate today. Like, it's like, I low energy as possible because I'm like, oh God, another day of this. The eye kind of twitches the whole time.
Yeah, if I would have known, I would have just stocked up on like hoodies, pajamas.
Yeah, like it was funny because my work, they actually gave us pajamas as like our winter gift, which was really nice. But I ripped the sweatpants like 2 days in, and I was like, oh God, now I feel fat, like in quarantine, and like even the pajamas they gave me don't fit anymore.
Do they have like the school logo or something on it?
They do. So like I wouldn't wear it out because that's kind of weird. So I'm like, okay, and now there's a huge hole in them. So like I could wear it during class because like they never see below this, but like also it feels weird being like, what if I stand up and there's a huge hole in the crotch and they see it and then I get fired? Like I don't want that. So
I don't want to spoil anything, but if I stand up, something might happen. I'm just
nothing underneath.
Nothing, absolutely. I got my mustache, my hat, my bow tie, my shirt, nothing under.
It's funny because like there have been days where I'll be like this on top and the bottom is just like basketball shorts, and I'm like, they'll never know. I have no idea.
Beyond the clothes.
Yeah. what does the depressed teacher look like? This.
Thank you so much for being here, Bobby. I'm such a big fan of you throughout the years, and I can't wait to, really dive into your story. But first, we're gonna talk about some tattoos that other people have gotten. They could be very awesome. They could be ugly. They could be, in works. But we're just gonna talk about them and see what we think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh God. I mean, here's the thing. I hate the troll dolls to begin with. I think they're creepy. So
hate troll dolls.
They're just so. I've worked past this. This is kind of funny. I used to have a bad fear of like inanimate toys when I was a kid, because my mom had these like Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse like Christmas figurines, and when I was 4, I had a dream that came to life and tried to kill me. And so like Toy Story wasn't no until I was like a teen. And so this just like hits on every fear on top of just the like, because now he has to keep his hair like that, or it doesn't work. And so that just seems like maintenance. Like what I like about tattoos is like, I get stabbed a lot and it hurts, and then afterwards I'm like, this is awesome, and then I don't gotta do much except maybe get it cleaned up every couple of years. But oh God,
it's like I saw the movie, and I don't know if it made me want to get a tattoo, but it made me want to sing along.
Yeah.
This is so funny because it's not the best troll I've seen, but it is creative, and it definitely deserves some points for creativity.
I can see that there's a subreddit on Reddit called Awful Taste but Great Execution, and this, like, I feel like falls under that, where I'm like, execution is awesome, but the choice to begin with is where I have a lot of pause for concern.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting choice, just because you have a patch of hair to do that. So, yes. Or his nickname could be, something with a troll. Or
yeah.
Next tattoo.
Oh.
Yeah. Now I don't need to tell everyone I'm vegan every 5 minutes. That makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense. I just like... I have no issue with veganism. And also it's funny, like the few times in my life where I'm like, I'm going to be vegetarian. Like I go to a restaurant, I'm like, I get the non-meat option and the people I'm with are like, are you vegetarian? I'm like, who cares? But I mean, I hope her dietary habits never change. That's all I have to say. Like, because if they do, it's got an issue.
Yeah, I find it very interesting that, because I'm vegetarian most days, and I don't know if I ever want to be like telling people all out in the public. I don't see why you would do it. You know how some people are like on their IDs it says organ donor. So yeah. It's like, is that what the point of this is?
Yeah.
Like, are you just telling people just in case you pass out, they try to feed you that?
Yeah, just so you know, if I passed out, like you got to give me the good stuff that's got no animal products, like. I mean, I'm also like not a person. I can't ever see myself getting a face tattoo. I don't think there's anything wrong if people do that, but it just feels like a lot of commitment to have something up here,
Well, especially something that's vegan. But what if you end up, wanting to try chicken one time? Like you might say you don't want to, but if it's a life and death situation.
Like, or at restaurants, like, I imagine the waiter or waitress are just like, okay, look at this part of the menu. Like, it just feels like, or like, you walk into a Korean barbecue place and everyone's like, you don't belong here. Like, like, what is happening?
I mean, at least, I think they actually have like a vegan symbol. And I've done a tattoo with this, right? I've done this on an arm, I think on a leg or something like that. And no judgment, I don't critique any of these tattoos. So, but other than the work, and if we zoom in, I mean, it's the G is sort of like bent a little bit in a way where
I think like the placement on the I feel like just like if you're gonna put it there, just put it in the middle of the forehead so you don't got to worry about curves or like have it be like a cute little like below the eye, like very tiny. Like I don't know, like.
I think it's like, on certain items or products that says made in China, have it on the back of your foot, on the bottom.
I think for me, it's not the idea of the tattoo totally. It's just like the placement of the tattoo that kind of throws it off for me.
Yeah, but I would give it, it's it says vegan, right? Like that. All right, we got some points for that.
We got it. It's spelled correctly. There's no typos. Like, we got that part covered.
So at least I give y'all some points for that one.
Yeah.
Next tattoo.
Oh God. This hits like everyone's fear of like clowns. Like, I'm not a person who's actually particularly scared of clowns, but it's just like Ronald McDonald wants to do inappropriate things to me, and I'm not okay with it. Like, he's trying to fuck me right now, and I'm not okay with it. Like,
do you want a Biggie size that fuck?
Yeah, like, oh my God, I don't want to supersize those fries. No, like,
he's like this is a Mick OnlyFans.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's just like, I just want to know the why to this. Like, just like, is it like, are you just love McDonald's so much? Do you want to make people uncomfortable? Because if so, like, congratulations, you have succeeded. I'm just trying to, I want to know the beyond the pain for this. Like,
right, for sure. Like, let's get this person on here.
Like, did you lose a bet? Like, I'm hoping they lost the bet. Then I'll be like, hey, power to you for sticking to it. That shows you're like committed and loyal. But like, if you just willingly chose to do this.
Yeah, and it's so wild because if you eat McDonald's every day, you're not going to have that six-pack.
No. Yeah. It's a lot of weird notes at the same time because you got Ronald McDonald and you're like, okay. Then you got like the well-crafted chiseled body and it's like, okay, go you, Ronald. And then we got the pube fries. And it's just like, and they're sticking out like the clearly the direction of the underwear is going down. Like, this isn't going up. So it's just like, oh.
The person outlined one of Justin Bieber's Calvin Klein commercials. They outlined. Yeah. They put Ronald McDonald's face on it.
It's like a bad sandwich. You know what I mean? Like, you got the top buns kind of work together, but the middle doesn't go with like, it's just like, oh no.
I mean, so I'll play the devil's advocate where it's like, I mean, at least we can tell it has a body. At least we can tell it's Ronald McDonald. At least we can tell it's fries.
Like, I don't mind the tattoo artist's work. I think that's fine. It's just, I think the theme for a lot of these will be the tattoo artist did a pretty bang up job. I just have a lot of concerns for the person who requested it. Like, do they need a hug? If so, like, once the pandemic's overcome over here, like, I'll give you a hug.
Get yourself a
Ronald McDonald fry cubes on your body. There are better ways to deal with this problem. I can connect you with therapists, like, whatever you need, man. Like,
I mean, it's like, what else does this person have? Do they have the Burger King? Do they have Wendy's?
Yeah, like, but I will say, like, if this person wants a conversation starter, I have so many things I want to ask them. So, like, if that's the goal, like, I want people to talk to me. They've succeeded because I want to know everything.
That's key. That's key for some people where it's like, I'm just going to have this crazy tattoo so that we can laugh about it, have something to talk about.
Yeah, I have a friend who has tattoos from like his, like pretty much every inch of his body from the neck down. And it's because he loves the subversive act of having tattoos. And so I'm like, that's really cool, dude. Like, that makes sense. But I want to know the beyond the pain for this.
Well, thank you for critiquing these tattoos with me. They're not all ugly, some have some good points. It's just fun to see. I love to see other people's wild imagination. I'm all about that stuff.
Yeah, no, again, like for a lot of like bad tattoos I see on the internet, it's for me very rarely the tattoo artist is where I'm like, it's more usually the choice of the tattoo. But every once in a while, there'll be like, I've seen tattoos where it's like spelled incorrectly. And I'm like, okay, multiple people fucked up there. Like, for that to happen.
All right, I'll tell one story and then we're going to cut to a commercial break. Okay. I don't like telling this story, but it's a funny story. I tattooed this lady and she wanted imperfection is beauty. right? I guess it's a Marilyn Monroe thing that she wanted because she wanted the eyeball and the lips winking or something like the whole, yeah. And I gave her a sheet of paper, write it out for me. Cool. I take that, and immediately when I'm stenciling it, I don't see it because of how the cursive is. And it had an extra swivel. So technically it could be an I or an E. So I do the tattoo, right? And this is when I'm first starting out too. And I do the tattoo and everything's good. She loves it. She pays me. She leaves. I'm cleaning up the station. And I look at the stencil and I see an extra swivel. I see the extra loop. And I'm like, imperfection is beauty.
Well, I will say it goes with the meaning of the tattoo. Like
there we go. There we go. It's the same meaning. So it means the exact same thing. So if anything, the tattoo is beautiful. Am I not?
And at the very least, she's probably the only person with that tattooed on her body. So if she's going for unique points, she's got that. So I'd say that was an artistic decision.
Thank you.
It's when the director doesn't give you the clear ending at the end of the movie and you're like, I want more. That's exactly what that is.
That's all it is. Anyways, let's cut to a commercial break. This is Beyond the Pain.
Love trees like a friend, sunshine. I've got enough to go around. You can share some of mine. I said, love trees like a friend, sunshine. Wet, sweat, sweat. Ooh, ooh, wet, sweat, sweat. Ooh, wet, sweat, sweat.
Welcome to Beyond the Pain! I just want to scare everybody every time they have it. Welcome to Beyond the Pain! We are with my homie, Bobby. And thank you so much for joining us. We just critiqued some tattoos. And now I would love to know about your first tattoo.
Yes, so I have two tattoos. The second one, a very awesome man did it, but the first tattoo was I'll actually show it. So welcome to my OnlyFans.
Oh,
so it's a little it's a little heart. It's an but it's an autism. The autism puzzle pieces together, designed as a heart. Because my brother, he's very low functioning autistic, so he's nonverbal. He's 25 now, and he, sort of has the mental capacity of like a 3 or 4 year old. And growing up with him, I had to take sort of a caretaker role all the time. And I figured, a lot of my life, I tried to run away from the fact that my brother had this because, create a lot of problems in the home. But, I figured if he can't run away from it, I shouldn't be able to. But it was funny because I actually got this kind of spur of the moment, which I think I got this when I was like 22, 23. And at the time in my life, I didn't do anything spur of the moment, especially something like this. And I remember when I told my parents I got a tattoo, because my parents are pretty conservative, and it was so funny because they saw that I was like, I got a tattoo, and they're just ready to get mad. And then I show them it's a little heart with the autism symbol. You can't get mad at that. Who? And and so they were like, okay, you got it for your brother. And it was just funny watching them who had thinking tattoos were the worst. And then 2 months later, my mom's like, I'm thinking about maybe getting an Eeyore tattoo. And I was like, yes, I broke them.
Yes, and that's like, the most beautiful thing that I find with families, where it'll be a situation such as that, where it's like we're breaking the idea of what tattoos are meant to be, and this beautiful meaning that you have with your tattoo and your brother is, it's so awesome, man. I also have two autistic cousins, and I have done so many of those puzzle pieces, and I find that even though it's something this big, it's something that would seem simple to others. I find the value of that kind of tattoo worth more than any dope portrait of some celebrity, or something that Ronald McDonald,
Yeah.
with no shirt. I find that's get that out.
My therapist got that image. Okay.
For sure. Hey, therapist, I would love to.
And you know what, Pat? Something. So I was at this interview and it was going fine, and then fucking Ronald McDonald and French fry. Oh my god! Like, oh.
But I think that's such a courageous, beautiful thing that you've done, and I commend you for it. And
Thank you.
what are the kinds of conversations that you have experienced with it? Have you found anyone else with the puzzle piece? Have you, because a lot of people have it in different ways.
Yeah, I every once in a while. I mean, it's been so long since I've been out, but you might see something on someone's arm. People don't see it too often because it's kind of where it's placed. But that's purposeful. I wanted it placed over my heart.
Right.
And so, but that means when people have seen it, they're like, they'll be moved by it. Though I do have a crazy story, if you're willing to indulge me for a second, related to this tattoo.
I'll indulge you. All
right. So at the time I was a grad student, so I was getting my master's degree, and I was doing a lot of research on body positivity. And so as part of my research, I created this body positive Instagram account and sort of like trying to do research from the inside, right? Like, what is this community like and all these things. And so I had a body positivity account. I posted that. And this woman reached out to me, and it led to the weirdest conversation of my life. And it had nothing to do with the tattoo beyond the fact that I got one. And she was like, "Oh, I bet you're a bad boy." And I was like, "I'm a speech and debate teacher." So like, So the answer to that is no. And she's like, "Oh, I bet you love, like," I forgot what it was. She's like, "I bet you love Star Wars." And I was like, I mean, it's cool. Like all these stereotypes about nerds and dorks. And it turns into this, like, also sort of like out of nowhere, this therapy session for her. She's just like, "Yeah, I'm married, but I'm getting a divorce. He's the only person I've ever slept with." And I was just like, "Why are you? I don't know this woman." Like, and I don't know what's happening. And it all started because of this tattoo that made me a bad boy. And then I will never forget the line that she said, because I found out during our conversation she actually lived really near. Like, she lived in LA, and I was like, "Oh, I don't like this. This is stranger danger." But she said to me, "When you are 31 and divorced," because she was 31 and I was like 22 at the time. She was like, "You're a baby." I'm like, "Okay, like, are you trying to hit on me?" Because I'm very confused. And she was like, "When you're 31 and divorced and desperate, hit me up." And I was like, "Why is that the criteria for me to hit you up? Why do I have to be divorced? Why do I have to be desperate? Like, like, why do I have to be 31? Like, I had so many questions, but that's one of my favorite messages I've ever received for all the wrong reasons. And all happened because of my autism awareness heart tattoo.
I mean, I was trying for something, more meaningful. I was hoping.
Oh, sorry. That's why I said indulge me for that.
No, it's great. It's great. It's great because it opens up this conversation of people viewing you differently, or oneself differently because of a tattoo. And
a lot of people, it was interesting. My friend group, growing up in high school, I think of the 7 of us, I was probably the 7 of 7 to get a tattoo. And at this point, I'm the only one who has one, and let alone one, I have 2. And so it's kind of funny how I feel like it really changes your relationship with your body when you get a tattoo, because you're like, this is like something I'm going to have forever. This is something people are going to ask me about forever, whether I want them to or not, right? This is, this isn't, it's such a big decision to make in a lot of ways. But it was interesting seeing like people were like, oh, like you're the kind of person who gets a tattoo. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I don't like. There's a lot of like subtext there, I'm sure, but I was just like, I don't. Very normal people, like it's not. Everyone could get a tattoo. It's not a weird thing to have anymore,
Yeah. Growing up, that was like the bad idea of what tattoos are, and I. As a kid who was introverted, I didn't really get attention. I got attention from the opposite sex, but I didn't receive this other kind of attention. The moment I became a tattoo artist and seemed to be how I was being fetishized.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably a deeper conversation than Beyond the Pain.
Yeah.
But the idea that you are a bad boy or a bad ass just simply because you have a tattoo, it could be taken, you can take it fun, or it could be like, yo, like there's something.
Let's unpack that. Why, like, what kind of, and it's funny because like that tattoo I got, was from this like really cool single father, and like, the other tattoo I got from you, and I was just like, there's this idea that tattoo artists are supposed to be scary. I'm like, the two tattoo artists I've had are like some of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. And so I remember when my mom mentioned, she's like, do you know any nice tattoo artists? I was like, I don't know any mean tattoo artists. So let's like change that. Let's change that conversation, because I don't know a single one where I'm like, that person's not dope. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you're right. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I definitely
too.
Right. Bring your mom on. And just
yeah, hi, Mom.
I think, what's awesome is that what you just said, how you expect your tattoo artist to be mean, right? And one thing that I know I'm not is mean, but also one thing is to be tattooed by your director.
Yeah.
And so how did we meet? And let's go from there.
Yeah, so I auditioned for a second. So I went through Second City's conservatory program, and I auditioned for they have these in-house like sketch teams, and I like to think about it as like sort of like SNL, but once a month, brand new show every time. It was funny because when I auditioned, I actually felt that audition was one of the worst of my entire life. I left thinking there's no way I'm going to be cast. It was a little awkward for me because it was one of those situations where every actor in the audition knew all the directors there. I don't think you were there that particular day. I could be wrong. And they're all chummy, and it was just like, oh, here's the other dude. And it was funny because I actually had a date immediately after, and I was not in the right mental space, because when you bomb an audition as an actor, it's like so. Ugh. And so like I was not myself, and like the next day she's like, let's just be friends, and I was like, yeah, that's fair. I would only want to be friends with me after like how like awkward and like out of it I was.
Right.
And the next day I get an email, and it's like, you are in a sketch team, and Chris Trovador is your director. And I was like, I don't know who he is, but I'm really excited for this.
I think I was there for your audition.
Oh, you were? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw something, and a few of our other co-stars, actors that were in the sketch team as well. No, because I did this for them. It's like, if I see something, your audition may be crap, right? And I can tell that pressure for some reason is a killer for auditions, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
And it can be something so small. It's like, even when I was taking tests in high school, I'd just like freak out on the word problem.
Yeah, it's like I put B twice in a row, I'm failing the test, like little things like that. And I could tell it was getting in my mind because since I knew a lot of the directors, knew a lot of the actors, because a lot of them were in a sketch team that I think had dissolved. So they were just re-auditioning for a new one. It was my first time. It was a very YOLO moment for me, because I'd always wanted to audition for something at Second City, but I was like, I'm not good enough. I'm not going to do it. And this time I was like, I'm going to do it. And then I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm so scared.
Yeah, man, I have picked some of the most awesome actors off of just, is it ambition? Is it initiation? It could be initiation off the scene. It could be something. And when I saw you on stage, I was like, he got some. He got some. And maybe that's the artist eye point of view because Kevin was the same. There was another person in our cast.
Yeah.
I have also had other casts. And some of them didn't even show up for the audition, right? But the initiative to come after the audition, hey, I couldn't make it because of work, but here's my resume, here's my thing. You still showed up.
Yeah.
And when I'm going over the stuff, I'm like, yo, I could possibly work with something like this because I know that you are at least dedicated to still come back, or you're dedicated to even get on there. So if I liked one thing, at least your charisma, your character, bro, come on board. And that's how I basically.
We had such an awesome, the cast changed throughout the year, but it always seemed like we had really cool and like what I loved is very diverse casts of like different people, different ideas, and it really it was a really good working atmosphere, and I had a lot of fun for that year that we were doing it.
Yeah. And so before you went to Second City, you were still a teacher?
So I was part-time. It wasn't actually till after I was no longer on the sketch show, I became a full-time teacher. I was a part-time teacher for a few years at a bunch of different schools. It was just kind of like, I didn't have a teaching credential, but I was working on my master's. So I couldn't get hired at a public school, but some like private schools. And it was like, I kind of fell into my career. I never had the intention of like being a teacher. It was like, I did speech and debate in high school and I enjoyed it. And then like a local high school is looking for a speech and debate coach. And then I joined and I was only supposed to coach speech. And then a year and a half in, the head woman quit. And so I had to take over I'm 19, taking over a team of 50 high schoolers. And all of a sudden, like, the administration's like, we can't go to state, like nationals, like you're just a kid. And I'm like, I'm just a kid, but these kids have worked hard and we're going. And then that year we had a student win nationals. And it was a really cool moment in my, and I was like, I really enjoy this. And then, I figured, okay, I need a master's degree to be hired by a private school. It's like communications. And so that works with speech and debate. And that's kind of how.
So you got your master's degree?
Yes, I got it in 2017.
And you're how old?
I was 24 when I graduated with it, I think.
Amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. I can barely get through my associates without trying to freak out and tear shit up and just. and I think that's awesome, man. And that your journey through that, and then you got into acting. Were you always into acting?
Yeah. So as a kid, I remember being like 9, being like, Dad, I want to be an actor. And he was like, oh, okay. And in high school, actually, the real reason I did speech and debate in high school is there's actually a bunch of acting events in the high school speech and debate. A lot of people don't know that. And so it's like, if you want to do DTAS, there's all of that in speech and debate. So like it's kind of funny. The piece that I actually took to state and placed at state was what's called original prose and poetry. And basically you write your own 10-minute one-man show. And as a senior in high school, I wrote this piece where it's about this guy and it's his life journey. And he wants to be the first astronaut to go to Mars. But at the same time, his wife is pregnant and he's going to miss the birth of his child if he goes. And you're like, and it starts off like I set it up like it's going to be so funny, like it's going to have the happiest ending. And then you realize the entire scene he's been recording on a video camera and he's coming back from Mars, but the ship has a critical failure and he's going to die and he knows it. So the whole 10-minute performance is a goodbye speech to his wife. And it's like that dramatic twist at the end. And I just love doing that. That kind of relates to my one-person shows. I love making the audience feel like it's gonna be funny, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, you're gonna feel things today. Like,
yeah, I mean, there was a few scenes when we were doing the sketch show that you really sang, you danced, there was a whole bunch of things that you did that I loved.
I always put myself out there for better. It's sometimes very often for worse.
Yeah, didn't you one time sing do a remix to Frozen?
I did a remix to Frozen. Like the premise was I was supposed to get the Disney princess for my daughter's my daughter's birthday, and the character was a shitty dad. I'm not a dad. I'm a cat dad, but I'm not an actual dad. And I hope I wouldn't be a shitty one. So I dressed up as Elsa and sang. And then there was that one time I did a remix of Cardi B's something as a teacher, and pretty much how like the internal thoughts of a teacher, how you want to, sometimes you really want to go off on your students.
It was so fun. It was so funny because he's a teacher and he's getting picked on by all the students. And then what was it? Around that time, gun laws were being changed or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussions about, it was because they were talking about arming teachers instead of like making sure we take guns away. And as a teacher, of course, I was like, what I have to like, teaching's a stressful job. If you give me a gun, I'm a very calm person. Like I really am. But I was just like, you give any teacher a gun when they're mad at the class, like it was sort of like, and so in the scene I pulled it out to scare them, and that's when the rapping started. It was like, also street cred because I had a gun, and then it ended with me accidentally shooting myself in the leg,
Yeah, all the students are like, okay, you gotta get out of here.
Okay, we gotta
go. That's so funny. Well, we'll continue back on your journey. Let's hit a commercial break and pay these sponsors, who is me.
Love trees, wine, good friends, sunshine. I've got enough to go around. You can share some of mine. I said, love trees, wine, good friends, sunshine.
Wet, sweat, sweat. Ooh, ooh, wet, sweat, sweat. Ooh, wet, sweat, sweat.
Hi everybody, this is Ruben Mentive. I am the host of La Lista, a Latinx writers podcast.
Welcome back to Beyond the Pain! This is great. This is great. I'm loving these details of your journey that I had no idea about. We talked about your teaching journey, your master's degree. We talked about us meeting each other, your first tattoo. We will get into your second tattoo, but I want to know, you said you created a solo show, and that was last year, the year before?
So it started, I did a performance at the end of 2019, and then I did a performance in January of 2020. And then, the world fell apart. So I imagine I probably would have done more, though every time I did it, I tried to change things a lot about the show. So if I were to go back and do it again, I'm sure I would do a lot of things different. Because I like to make it responsive to what I'm going through in the moment.
Yeah. And what was it called, and what was it about?
Yeah, great question. So it was called Fat And. So I originally wrote it. So I don't know if other writers have this experience where it's just like nothing, traumatic moment. I need to get everything on the page. And so during actually when I was with you, Chris, and I think you saw some parts of it towards the end of it, I was in a very emotionally abusive relationship. And like that whole year. And I think there was a couple rehearsals I showed up and I'd been crying because, we didn't know she had an undiagnosed mental illness. So she constantly would lie to me about things. She would, fake suicide attempts. She would pretty much, if I wasn't by her side 24/7, I was a horrible boyfriend.
Right.
And when you, again, I was living with her, so I constantly felt like I wasn't enough. And I was like, I'm the only one paying the bills. I'm the only one working. And like, actually, like, you don't know this, but now you know, is like me doing the team, the improv team was a source of tension between us two. Cause it was like the one thing I really did for me. And I refused to let her take that away from me. And so immediately after the breakup, I was like, I swore off. I was like, I'm not going to date anyone, for a hot minute. And then of course, like 3 weeks later, someone that I had a crush on like years ago, like kind of came into my life. And I was like, this feels like the time. We dated for like 6 weeks, and then she realized that she wasn't in place, and we broke up. The next day, I wrote this entire show, Fat And, and it was sort of me processing everything. It was really more me processing the first breakup, because the second one, we had only been dating for a few weeks, but I think I could use it as sort of this like excuse that I'm fine. Yeah, I've moved past the abuse because I'm in this new thing. And when the new thing ended, all of a sudden I had to deal with both at the same time. And so the show, it's called Fat And, but it's sort of this mixture of like Wizard of Oz, which is a reference to my first ever big part I ever had was the Cowardly Lion. I've actually been the Cowardly Lion twice, once in the Wiz and once in the Wizard of Oz. I was once in like the
playing that role. I can see that.
Yeah, I'm more king of the floor. You know, like, and it was perfect because at the time I had never I grew up loving singing, but I was a really bad singer, and so actually my family would constantly make fun of how bad singer I was. So I think I sometimes choose. And the show was actually a musical. None of the show's songs are original, but it was all songs that I meant something to me. And it was that sort of like fuck you energy that I wanted the show to have to like kind of the people who hurt me. It was like, oh, you don't want me to sing? People are paying money to see me sing. So, you know, sort of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it was me having an existential crisis upon pretty much the premise of the show is I'm trying to start the show the whole time because I think you know me, I love weird, absurdist, breaking the fourth wall. And so the opening scene is me talking to my conscious off stage, like this. It's entirely dark, and my conscious is lying to the audience, like he's about to touch you, and I'm like, no, I'm on the wings. And then you find out my character's stalling because I'm waiting for a girl to show, and then she breaks up with me, and that kind of sends me into the spiral. And pretty much I meet the Wicked Witch of Insecurity, my brain, my heart, and my stomach, which is supposed to be in the neck of, you know, the Wizard of Oz. And pretty much the Wicked Witch of Insecurity tells me the reason that you're broken and everything hurts you is because of your kindness. And so I have to kill my kindness. And so I go on this journey trying to kill my kindness. And of course, at the end, I realized, like, no, actually, kindness is the thing that will save me.
Yeah.
But that I misunderstood kindness because before I thought kindness was not having boundaries. It was always catering to everyone. And that's because I grew up with my brother. You know, when you have someone who, you know, constantly needs help and you grow up in that situation, you're like, love is about me sacrificing. And so I thought that's what love was for a long time, was like, if I love someone, I'm willing to sacrifice everything. And I realized, no, that's not kind to you or them because you're not happy. So, you know, that's kind of set the stage for, you know, the show, but also set the stage for the tattoo that I got with you.
Yeah, which was good segue because that's such an awesome tattoo idea that also correlates with your show.
Yeah,
which I found that was so amazing. So let's talk about that, your tattoo idea, what you got, how you went through it at the same time that all this was happening.
Yeah, so I got there's this Japanese pottery style called kintsugi. And the idea behind it is that when a plate or glass, or well, not really glass because that shatters, but like when a plate breaks, rather than throwing it away, they actually seal it with gold. And so you can see the cracks in it. And the idea is that something is more beautiful when it's broken and put back together again. And you can see there's some examples of the artwork. And I thought, you know, so much of my life was me constantly, because, you know, I'm not trying to say I've had a harder life than a lot of people.
No.
I've had a lot of hard things happen in my life. And so I constantly felt like I was broken. And I think, you know, the depression and sort of like the PTSD that I, you know, experienced in my life all played into that, whereas like I'm broken. This is why I end up in bad relationships, because I'm bad, right? All these things. And I thought, what if I make my skin, you know, like the broken part and, you know, filled with gold. And I remember trying to explain it to you because I was like, I have this idea. It won't make sense, but like, bear with me.
Yeah. And you came with me to the pictures, and I was like, oh, I have seen these before. And I think it was like at an art museum, or it had been on Instagram. Like I've seen them multiple times, but I've never done the tattoo. Like,
and I actually like searched like far and wide for tattoos as examples, and I didn't really find any. Like the closest one I found was like across the whole back, and I didn't really like it. So I was like, I want this to look more natural. And, I think you were able to do that perfectly. So I really appreciate the work that you did.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you for having me do that. And such an amazing thought process beyond the pain, right? and to piece yourself together, or at least the thought of piecing yourself together through the tattoo. And for those that don't, we can't see because he has clothes on, but it's say, for example, it's like my fingers, my hand, and it's like that. And there's cracks. They're all filled with gold color. And it's just how he pieces himself back together.
Yeah, and that's that felt like emblematic of that moment in my life where I was like, this is me. I've been broken, but I'm not going to constantly be broken. But rather than like run away from it, sort of like the autism heart, like I can't run away from what's happened, but I can embrace it, and that's kind of what it felt like, and that's what my show felt like. The show was very heavy and very open about the things that happened to me in my relationship. And it's very rare that you see, emotional abuse portrayed. And it's very rare to see it portrayed, by a man, an hour-long show about being emotionally abused in a relationship. And so, it felt very vulnerable, and I like to do new things, which is why, that tattoo was exciting for me also, was like the fact that I couldn't find one on the internet was like, this gives me more indication that I should get it rather than less. It's like this feels very personal to me. And I was so happy to get it. And, I had a great time getting it. I think you saw me. It was the first tattoo I got, since it was so tiny, it took like 20 minutes and was like pain-free. And then this one, I was like, oh, I feel in pain.
And it's not an easy tattoo to do because going into a tattoo that has no form, it's never been done before, and it's not like a vase or a mug or something where you can see it, so it's your shoulder, and to create it to where it looks like the art form, and also so it's like those cracks and stuff, and you're putting that on your deltoid, and let alone like there's a couple little spots on that deltoid that don't feel good.
Oh yeah, I learned that day, which was funny because one of my friends came with me, and I was like, I'm gonna be tough, and I was like, I can't be tough. This hurts, but it's okay. Like, we're gonna get through this. And I remember, I think the first tattoo I didn't bleed at all, and this one I was bleeding a lot too, and I felt bad because I was like, I'm bleeding over Chris's stuff. Like, oh my god.
I think that the meaning behind it will be worse pain than that tattoo could ever be.
Absolutely, and I'm so happy I got it, and it gets me excited for. I think every couple of years I'm like, I need a new tattoo, but this really satisfied that tattoo itch like very deeply.
Absolutely. And then from then on, you ended up creating your own business, right?
Yeah. So
tell me about that.
Yeah, so it started actually a couple months ago. It was sort of around Christmas, so it's pretty new. But I started making candles. And so I have a Etsy store that I'm going to be launching. Hopefully, I think it'll be launched by the time this comes out. I realized, I love candles, and I love making people happy. That's kind of like, I do improv because it makes people laugh, right? I teach because like I'm hoping I can give kids something.
Right.
And candles are kind of like that, but the added benefit is it's not me in your face, right? Because it's this nice thing. Especially this year, living alone for a lot of this year, sometimes you need things to remind you that you have a body and you're in a place. And candles are a great way to do that because you're like, there's a smell. And pretty much I was buying my mom has a candle obsession, but because of my brother, she doesn't light them in the house. So her candle obsession, she buys them and then pawns them off on me, which works out like candles. But also I was just kind of like, Mom, you're wasting your money. I was like, I imagine I could do this for cheaper. And then I started making them. And then I asked a bunch of my close friends, I was like, tell me what your dream candle is. Color, scent, I'm going to make it happen. And I did it. And originally I was like, this will just be a fun pet project for my friends. But I had so much enjoyment. It was just so fun. Like, I feel like I get in a state of flow when I'm making them. Even though I make mistakes here and there, I'm still kind of new. But I had all these ideas for branding, and it kind of hit everything that I've done. I love social media. I love being creative. I love cooking, and even though this isn't cooking, it feels similar, right? Candles and cooking to me are this cool combination of like art and science, which I love because I have a very scientific brain, but I also like have this chaotic art brain, and they're constantly fighting each other. Like, we're gonna be organized, we're gonna do this, and this is like, no, we're gonna be creative and be up. And I'm like, guys, stop. And so
the mind of an artist.
Yeah. And so I feel like candles are like that.
Yeah. Do you have any candles with you?
So I have one. I have one here. So this is called. I haven't trimmed the wicks, so don't. It looks like an alien.
Honestly, I thought it was kind of cool. It looked like a bug. I was like, this must be the bug scent.
And so this is called Beach Party, but I'm launching with 6 cents. And I have some others, but I'd have to leave the screen. But
what kind of other flavors do you have? Or flavors? Is that
I'm starting with 6. So I'm starting with we got Beach Party here, which is supposed to smell like a beach party: watermelon, banana, coconut. Got some
not drunk people.
There's one called To the Wilderness, which is all of my favorite tree scents.
Nice.
There's one called Sublime, which is a lime scented one because
we
don't have puns, right? And then there's one called Bad Lemon. Because it's like a lemon, but it has a bunch of like masculine scents with it. So it's like, it's a bad boy, but it's a bad lemon. And then there's an old fashioned, which is the drink itself. So it's whiskey. And so I was like, oh, let me create it. Like, one of my friends was like, I love the idea of like a whiskey candle. And you don't see
I might have to take a gander or a buy off that one.
Yeah. And so I was like, that's a cool thing is like, I was like, I can make candles that other people aren't making, or if they aren't like what you might see in a store. And then the last one, which is my favorite name, it's called Fuck You Stress.
I might have to buy that one too.
Yeah. And it's like, it's pretty much like every stress releasing candle you've ever seen has like spearmint and eucalyptus, and it has all those kinds of scents. And I was just like, you know, I don't want stress relief. I want to say fuck you to stress. And so that's my opening lines. I'm hoping to launch some more for Mother's Day and Father's Day.
The commercial, I already see it right there.
Yeah.
Fuck you, stress!
Fuck you, stress. Bye.
That's awesome, man. I'm so proud of you and how far you've come just in the amount of years that I've known you. I can't wait to see you back on the stage, or all of us back on the stage.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
And yeah, man. What social medias can we find your candles at and everything else?
So my social media for my candles is called Olfactory Factory Candles. So I actually just last week officially got approved by the Secretary of State of California. So I'm officially a business, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, Olfactory Factory Candles is the Instagram handle. And if you want to know more about me, my Instagram handle is Rob_Lebeda, which forever my Instagram was Fat Bobby. But around the time I got this tattoo, I was like, I don't got to focus on my weight anymore. Like, I got to focus on me. And so I changed there was not only a rebranding of my body, but there was a rebranding of me.
There we go. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
And there's an Etsy store I'll be launching. And so if you want your own Fuck You Stress or old-fashioned candle, you could also procure it there at an Etsy, or I guess an internet browser near you.
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely be copying one of those. Well, Bobby, thank you so much, man. This was such a great, awesome interview with you. I hope that we can see each other soon after this pandemic.
I have another tattoo idea that I want to come to you with. So,
well, you want to tell the audience what you're gonna get?
Yeah, so I want to get so Jupiter, the space as science person, is my favorite planet.
For sure.
I think it's a beautiful planet. Also, it's protected Earth like throughout history from like a lot of big asteroids because it's so big. So I want to get a pretty big Jupiter like on my back. And the idea is it's like you can't see it, but it's always there protecting you. And I love the meaning behind it. And it's my favorite aesthetic image is the planet itself. And so I was just like, I want to get something that's just really beautiful.
Yeah, I could definitely do a 3D Saturn on your back.
Yeah.
Jupiter? Saturn?
Jupiter. But Saturn's
the whole solar system, buddy.
Yeah, the whole solar system.
That'd be great. One last thing. your journey's so inspiring. Is there any last words that someone that wants to get a tattoo for the first time, or wants to try debate class, or do their own solo show? What advice would you say?
I think for all of them is you just, if it feels like the right thing to do and it's like what's calling to you, do it. I think for a while, I avoided getting a tattoo because it's like, I'm a teacher, I'll never get hired. And I was like, I don't have to have a tattoo in a visible place. It's not like I'm going to be shirtless in class. And if I am, I'm no longer going to be a teacher. Sort of the idea of like, if it feels right, do it. Don't listen to whatever bullshit society tells you or what your friend. If they're good friends and they know like, okay, you shouldn't do that. But like, sort of what was a big inspiration for me immediately after I went through that trauma, I asked all my friends to create a bucket list for me of things that they thought would be good for me to do. And so like I went skydiving, it was a bunch of stuff that they created. And it was kind of the idea of like boundaries are meant to be pushed. Your comfort zone's meant to be expanded. And, when you go through trauma, that's kind of like the best moment to reset yourself and go, let me try this new thing. Because the worst that could happen is it will fail. And at least I know it failed. And now at least I know a little bit more about myself.
Yeah, hopefully they get a good artist that they can do it so that everyone fails. But just...
yeah. So also like another thing, if you're gonna get a tattoo, like be willing to spend the money for a good tattoo. It's gonna be on your body forever. Whatever the tattoo artist says it's worth, they aren't trying to fuck you over. Like it's expensive. It takes time. They've spent years mastering their craft. So. And please tip your tattoo artists well because they deserve it.
Hey! I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Bobby. I appreciate you. And those watching, you can check more episodes out at Dimelo Network. Shout out to them. Trovador 360. The website's on the little corner over there. Right there. Yep. My Instagram is at Trovador 360. Bobby, again, I can't say how inspiring your story is, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
This is Beyond the Pain!
Beyond the Pain!
More episodes! Yeah!
Oh, did you like that episode? Well, I have so much more. I have custom fashion, I have tattoos, I have comedy. Like and subscribe and share. Thank you for watching.
It's still recording.